Mirabel was one of the richest women in Lagos. With thriving businesses, luxury properties, and millions in her account, everyone saw her life as perfect. But something kept bothering her. "Who truly loves me?" she would whisper to herself at night. Her instincts had been screaming. Her husband, Edwin, had changed. He is also on phone making calls. Something is different about him. Even the way he say, "I love you, babe," is fake. Her siblings always wanted something. Her business partners smiled too much. Mirabel needed answers, not the kind words could give, but truth from action. So she made a decision, to pretend she was dead. "You want to what?" her close friend Belinda asked in shock. "I want to fake my death, disappear for a while and see how they react. I need to know who truly cares," she said firmly. "No, don't do that. Stop looking for problem when there's none," said Belinda. "I will do it. I'm not asking for your opinion. Just keep quiet and watch the whole drama." Mirabel hired a private doctor and paid a large sum to issue a fake death certificate. Her death was reported suddenly, heart attack in her sleep. The news spread like wildfire. Edwin acted the grieving husband on the outside, but inside, Mirabel was watching everything unfold. Mirabel's lifeless body was taken to a high-end private mortuary. She had already spoken to the attendant, a man named Jacob, and paid him handsomely. "You will keep this a secret, Jacob. I need to stay here just 2 nights. After that, I disappear." "Madam, I don't hear. As long as the money day, I day loyal," Jacob replied, locking the cold room carefully. At midnight, Jacob came to her body drawer and pulled it open. "You can come out now, Ma." Shivering from the cold and stiffness, Mirabel sat up. She changed into black clothes, covered herself with a black veil, and walked into the darkness. A car was waiting to take her to the luxury hotel she had secretly booked under another name. It was the beginning of her hidden journey. The very next day, Edwin arrived at the mortuary pretending to be heartbroken. But Jacob, who had been watching him, noticed something odd. Edwin was smiling. "Finally," Edwin muttered under his breath, "now I can live free." Later that night, Mirabel, covered head to toe in her black veil, snuck back into her mansion. The security guard, Musa, already knew the plan. She tipped him well and he agreed to keep quiet. "Welcome back, madam. He day inside with one man," Musa whispered. Mirabel's heart skipped. She entered quietly and hid behind the big curtain in the living room. There was Edwin, laughing and drinking with another man. "When do we announce your engagement to Vanessa?" the man asked. "Soon. Mirabel's funeral is in 3 days. After that, she's forgotten." Mirabel's eyes burned with silent tears. News of Mirabel's death brought people from all over. Her younger sister Caro arrived with sunglasses and a wide grin. Her older brother Felix came in a flashy car, acting like the new lord of the estate. They didn't even ask what happened. Instead, they started arguing. "I want her cars," Caro said, pointing at the parked fleet. "You? Please! I deserve the beach houses. You never even liked her," Felix shouted. They stormed into the living room, pulling documents, arguing over property, forgetting that Mirabel's body hadn't even been buried yet. From the secret camera Mirabel had installed earlier, she watched it all from her hotel room. Her heart shattered, but she stayed quiet. She had to see more. Mirabel's business partners were next. Dressed in expensive suits, they arrived pretending to mourn, but once inside they opened laptops, began calculating profits and laughing over who would now take control of her company. "Her shares will be divided. Let's just hope the lawyer reads the will in our favor," said Mr. Gabade. "At least we don't have to deal with her tough leadership anymore." Another laughed. Mirabel clenched her fists. She had trusted these men with everything. Now she knew who they really were. But the moment that broke her completely was when her parents arrived. Mr. and Mrs. Abayomi walked in holding each other, their eyes red, their hands shaking. "My daughter, my jewel," her mother cried. Her father couldn't speak, only groaned in pain. They knelt before her framed photo, sobbing. That was the moment Mirabel couldn't hold back. She called Musa. "Prepare the car, I'm going home, now!" She couldn't let her parents suffer one more second. It was just after 10 p.m. when Musa drove her in quietly. She wore a white gown this time, no veil. Her parents were still there, sobbing in the living room. Then they heard a voice. "Mama, Papa, I'm not dead." They looked up. Shock hit them like thunder. "Mirabel," they cried, rushing to hug her. "I had to know who truly loved me," she whispered, sobbing too. They wept together, tightly holding each other. After calming her parents, Mirabel begged them, "Please don't cry anymore. I need to finish this. I must know what Edwin is really planning. We will reveal everything at the right time, but not now." Reluctantly, they agreed and returned to the hotel with her. That night, something happened. Edwin invited Vanessa to the house. Musa, who stayed alert as always, called Mirabel immediately. "Madam, she don't come. That Vanessa, they even hold hand enter house." Mirabel turned on her secret camera app and watched. Vanessa sat comfortably, like the queen of the house. "So, after the burial, we do the wedding, yes?" she smiled. Edwin laughed. "No, baby, not immediately. People will talk. Let's give it 2 months, then you can move in officially." 2 months? She pouted playfully. "All right, I can wait. Then I take over everything. The cars, the houses, the shares, everything." Edwin nodded. "You deserve it all, baby." Mirabel kept everything to herself. "It's our turn now." Vanessa leaned closer, stroked his chest, and whispered, "Then, let's start now." She pulled him gently towards the bedroom. Mirabel sat still, shaking, her whole body numb. She had seen enough, but this wasn't over. Mirabel watched from her hotel room, her eyes wide open, her heart pounding. The betrayal was no longer just about money. It was about disrespect, humiliation. On her bed, in her room, Edwin and Vanessa made love like wild animals. The very room where Mirabel had once cried with joy, celebrated birthdays, dreamt of building a family. It was now a playground for lies. "I can't wait to be Mrs. Edwin," Vanessa giggled as she laid beside him. "You already are in my heart," Edwin said, caressing her cheek. Mirabel looked away from the screen. Tears streamed down her face. Her body trembled, but her soul turned to steel. She wiped her tears and sat upright. This was no longer about observing. It was time to plan her return. Back at the hotel, her mother noticed her expression. "What did you see?" she asked gently. "Enough," Mirabel whispered. "They think I'm dead, but I'm about to haunt them with truth." The morning of the burial arrived. The house was full of guests, all dressed in black. Media crews gathered at the gate, ready to capture the final goodbye of the great Mirabel Abayomi. Musa stood at the corner, alert as ever. He spotted Vanessa giving orders to the caterers, laughing as if she owned the place. Inside, Edwin was checking the funeral program, playing the perfect widower. Tears that weren't real flowed freely. In her hotel room, Mirabel dressed in a royal blue lace gown, fitting for a queen. Her makeup was flawless, her face calm. "Are you sure about this?" her father asked, holding her hand. "Yes, Daddy. Today, they will see the dead rise." With Jacob and Musa by her side, she entered the black SUV and drove straight to the mansion. The service was just starting. Edwin took the mic and began his fake tribute. "She was my joy, my light." "Liar," a voice echoed through the speakers. Heads turned, gasps. Mirabel walked in slowly, with grace and power. Guests screamed, some fainted. Edwin dropped the mic. Vanessa dropped her wineglass. "I am not dead," Mirabel announced. "But you, all of you, are dead to me." The compound was frozen in silence. No one could move. The woman they buried in their hearts was now standing tall before them, alive, glorious, angry. Mirabel walked slowly to the front. Her eyes scanned the faces that betrayed her husband, her siblings, her business partners. Shame painted their faces. "You all came to cry for me," she said slowly, her voice echoing. "But your tears were fake. Your hearts were greedy." Edwin tried to speak. "Mira, I can explain." She raised her hand. "Don't. You wanted me gone. I watched you laugh with your new lover in my house, on my bed." The crowd gasped. Vanessa stepped back, shaking. "This is madness. This woman is a ghost." "I am no ghost. I faked my death to see your true faces, and I saw everything." Caro and Felix, her siblings, were already sneaking toward the gate. "Caro! Felix!" Mirabel snapped. "You argued over my cars and houses like wild dogs. You even forgot to ask how I died." Their knees buckled. One by one, the crowd turned against them. Whispers rose. Phones were recording. Her business partners stood awkwardly. "You vultures! Ready to divide my company like meat. I built that empire with sweat and blood, and you were eager to eat it." The atmosphere shifted. Fear crept in. Mirabel turned to the press. "Publish the truth. Let the world see what family and love looks like when greed takes over." She walked past Edwin and whispered, "You buried your shame today, not me." By evening, social media exploded. Videos of Mirabel's return trended across the country. Hashtags like #NotDead, #GreedyFamily, #Wife returns from grave flooded the internet. Edwin's image was everywhere, mocked, disgraced. Brands he partnered with began pulling out. His account was frozen pending legal investigations. Vanessa disappeared. Mirabel's lawyers filed lawsuits. Fraud, emotional abuse, misappropriation of funds. The police came for Edwin 2 days later. "You're under arrest for fraud and conspiracy," the officer said. Mirabel watched from her balcony as Edwin was taken away. "I loved him," she whispered to her mother. "But he loved my wealth more." Her parents hugged her tightly. Meanwhile, her siblings tried to apologize. "We were stupid, Mira. Forgive us," Caro pleaded. "Forgiveness is not just words," Mirabel replied. "You'll earn it." She gave them cleaning uniforms. "You want part of my wealth? Start by working." Her company? It was returned to her. The partners who betrayed her were fired immediately. She announced a scholarship fund in her name, honoring true loyalty. Weeks passed. Mirabel was once again in control, but she wasn't the same. She no longer surrounded herself with flashy friends or greedy associates. Her circle grew smaller, stronger. She hired Musa as her personal security chief. Jacob, the mortuary attendant, now managed her estate. "Loyalty deserves reward," she told them. Belinda, the only friend who knew the truth, became her new company director. Mirabel launched a foundation for widows and orphans. She knew the pain of being betrayed. Now, she wanted to protect others. On the day Edwin's trial began, she stood outside the court. "Do you regret it?" a reporter asked. She smiled softly. "No. Sometimes, to see the truth, you must disappear." The crowd applauded. Her parents stood beside her, proud. Inside the court, Edwin looked broken, but Mirabel, she stood tall, alive, unshaken, reborn. The courtroom was filled to the brim. Journalists, curious onlookers, even some of Mirabel's former enemies, had come to witness the trial. Edwin sat in the dock, dressed in a worn-out blazer. The sparkle in his eyes was gone. Beside him stood his lawyer, looking more nervous than confident. The judge entered, and the courtroom stood still. "Edwin Abayomi," the judge began, "you are charged with attempted fraud, conspiracy, and emotional abuse. How do you plead?" Edwin hesitated, then muttered, "Not guilty." Mirabel sat directly opposite him, her eyes locked on his. She wore a cream-colored suit, elegant and powerful. Her presence alone shook Edwin. Witness after witness testified. Musa spoke of what he saw. Jacob revealed how Edwin smiled in the mortuary. Even Vanessa, tracked down and brought in by police, confessed everything. "He promised me Mirabel was out of the way forever. I didn't know she was alive," Vanessa cried. Mirabel's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, what kind of man begins wedding plans before his wife is even buried? What kind of husband smiles when his partner is presumed dead?" The court murmured. The truth was clear. In her final statement, Mirabel rose. "I stand here not just for myself, but for every woman who has been betrayed. I was left for dead, not by accident, but by greed. I want justice, not revenge. Let this be a warning." The judge nodded. "Verdict will be delivered in 48 hours. As Mirabel walked out of the courtroom, the world applauded her strength. She had not only survived betrayal, she conquered it. 2 days later, the court reconvened. The judge entered and read slowly. After reviewing all testimonies and evidence, the court finds Edwin Abayomi guilty on all charges. Edwin collapsed into his chair. The courtroom buzzed. Mirabel remained calm. "For fraud and conspiracy, you are sentenced to 12 years imprisonment with hard labor. All access to Mirabel's wealth and estate is revoked." Outside, reporters swarmed. "How do you feel, Madame Mirabel?" She replied, "Justice speaks louder than revenge. Today I heard it loud and clear." As Edwin was taken away in handcuffs, Mirabel looked up at the sky. "This chapter is closed," she whispered. That evening she returned home to find her staff waiting. "Welcome back, madam," they cheered. She smiled. "I'm not just back. I'm reborn." Mirabel invited her parents, Musa, Jacob, Belinda, and even her siblings to a private dinner. "This is the beginning of something new," she said, lifting her glass. "To truth, to family, to life." Mirabel knew the damage Edwin caused wasn't just about betrayal. It shook her belief in love and trust. So, she took a break from business and traveled across Nigeria, visiting widows, orphans, and struggling entrepreneurs. She donated, mentored, and listened. Back home, her siblings, Caro and Felix, worked hard cleaning, managing supplies, and handling estate chores. "Can we ever earn your trust again?" Felix asked one day. "You're trying," she said softly. "That's a start." Her foundation began a program called Rebuild from Ruins, aimed at empowering betrayed women. Every week, letters poured in. Women shared stories, thanking her for being brave. One day, during an event, a handsome young entrepreneur named Chuka approached her. "I don't want anything from you," he said, "just to say your story saved my sister's life." They began talking, slowly, carefully, no rush. Her parents noticed her smile had returned. "Mama," she said one morning, "maybe love is not the problem. Maybe I just gave it to the wrong person." 1 year later, Mirabel stood on stage, receiving a national award for courage and philanthropy. As she accepted the plaque, tears filled her eyes. "Life broke me, but truth rebuilt me. To every woman out there, never let betrayal define you. Let it refine you." The hall stood in ovation. Outside, reporters gathered again. "Any new love in your life?" She laughed. "Love finds us when we're ready. For now, I'm in love with peace." Musa and Jacob still worked by her side. Caro opened a small boutique, while Felix became a logistics officer for her company. Edwin, still in prison. Vanessa disappeared from the public eye. As the sun set, Mirabel stood on her balcony with a glass of wine. She looked at the horizon and whispered, "I pretended to die, and through that, I truly began to live." The wind kissed her cheeks gently, and with a smile, she walked back inside, whole, healed, and forever powerful. The lesson: only your parents can love you truly from their heart without wanting something in exchange. When the world around you is blinded by greed, it is the love of your parents that remains pure, unshaken, and unconditional. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button now. Turn on the notifications so whenever I post more interesting stories, you'll be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye.